This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, hi all. Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are welcome, a warm welcome to Rack Infotech. Today we are going to start our first session, Oracle DBA training architecture. And I am Vasu, having 9+ years of experience in IT as an Oracle application and administrator. Today we are going to learn about the Oracle database architecture. Okay. Well, before going to learn Oracle architecture, we will start with first understanding the what is Oracle database, and then we will learn about the prerequisites. Okay, what are all the prerequisites before we are going to learn the DBA, and also we will learn today what are all the roles and responsibilities of Oracle DBA. As an Oracle DBA, what is our role and responsibility, and then we will start our architecture. What is Oracle database architecture? I'll explain to everyone. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, guys, what is Oracle database? Yeah, as I mean, we are going to learn Oracle database. First, we want to understand what is Oracle database. Database is nothing but the information, whatever the information. If you're maintaining an organization, one organization like you started one company, whatever the information you, if you are receiving or whatever the information you required, you want to store in a certain place. That if required, you required some kind of software, or earlier days we required some files and all, right? So in our nowadays, whatever we are storing that information, company information or the individual information or the data which is relevant to that company or relevant to that institute, we call it as a database where the data will be based. Okay, sorry, one second, let me, there is an issue to share my, you guys are able to see my screen, right? Okay, then thanks for confirmation. Yeah, the data, whatever it is related to the relevant, like it is related to that organization. If it is related to an institute, that institute related information, we want to make it in a single place. That place, if you want to store and retrieve that information in a user friendly manner with a security, every I mean all these operations should be there. Like you have to access it, the data should be accessible, and that should be in a secure, and that should be accessed by the authorized users. Okay, if related to the Rack Infotech, I have stored this information in my Rack Infotech, Rack Infotech database. If somebody from outside the Rack Infotech people can able to access this data, it means there is no security. So Oracle database will provide you the more security and user friendly, and also the performance wise. If you want to access, lakhs of people are trying to access the same data from the online, Oracle database is having the capability to provide that kind of performance, high performance as well. So to conclude this, what is the database means? The database is a collection of data which is related to the a specific organization, or it's related to the similar data where we are going to collect it and we store in a specific place. And next topic, we are going to talk about the prerequisites. Okay, before going to learn Oracle DBA, you require certain kind of prerequisites. Those are like you need to know the Linux commands. Why? Because no, we are handling the databases on Windows Server or Linux servers and other IBM AX servers and so on. So if you are going to learn the database, or if you want to go the, I mean, if you are going to perform the DBA activities, you required such kind of knowledge to handle the databases. And that knowledge, I can say, most of the databases, like most of the organizations are used on Linux flavors. Like some of the organizations are used Oracle databases on Windows also, IBM AX also. But in this training, I'm going to cover the databases on Linux servers. So you require the basic Linux commands and all. For this, I'll share the few of the commands. Uh, 40 to 50 commands I have, and those are more than enough. Like as 2 3 years, Oracle DBA can handle those commands, like they can play with that. And also you require a basic SQL knowledge. Basic SQL knowledge means if you want to read a data from the database, okay, the database was designed with the combination of the Java software and the language. The database will understand the language, SQL language only, structured query language. So you require the basic knowledge on SQL. So select query, insert query, update, delete. So such kind of knowledge you require. It is good to have. It is not a mandatory. It is good to have. And also the prerequisites, like you are going to learn the DBA and then you want to do the practicals, like your own. You want to do the practicals. So you require a laptop or a PC, your own. That is required 8 GB of RAM. It is recommended. Even some of the PCs are working 4 GB, but it is 8 GB minimum is required. If you have a more than that, it is good performance. You will get it. And 500 GB storage is required to install the database software, and you want to perform the installations, upgrades, or day-to-day activities and all. Okay, these are the one or two prerequisites before going to learn the Oracle DBA. And we are jumping into the next one. What are the roles and responsibilities? Okay, once you're done with this course, you learn the Oracle DBA training, and what is main, like what is your role after learning this training, like Rome? Once you join an organization or else somewhere else, you must know the your role. What is your role? So as a DBA, you required like some of the knowledge like patching, cloning, and day-to-day operations. Day-to-day operations means patching and cloning we used to do on. It is not a regular task. Might be depends. If any issues happen, we are going to apply the patches. If we require the clone means, I'll tell you what exactly that what is mean by the patch and what is mean by the clone in upcoming sessions. But clone request we used to get, clone is nothing but the copy of the production. We used to get monthly, or it depends. Some organizations they used to do on weekly clone. Some means some organizations they used to start on daily. But on an average, 15 days once or monthly once we used to get the clone requests. So that is one job. How we need to perform? We have separate sessions. How we are going to apply the patch? How we are going to do the clones? And most important thing is monitoring your database health and backups on daily basis. This is this is daily task. Like as and when you join your shift, and then what you need to do, how is your database is working. First of all, you need to log into that server. Primary role, production we need to monitor. Production is up and running or not, and production is accessible or not. Is there any network issue? Is there everything is fine or not? That kind of things if you are doing, no, that we call it as a health checks. Okay, and backups daily basis. The organizations they need on daily basis backups. Suppose you are on a healthcare organization. So daily you have a n number of transactions going on in your organization. That transactions will store, end of the day that standard the transactions will store in database. So if you are not taking that backups on daily basis, suppose after 1 or 2 days if database is crashed, okay, without backup we cannot recover or restore that information. So backups are crucial for each and every organization. For that we required the backups. Okay, backups also one topic, separate topic, how we can take the backups and what kind of tools we are going to use in the backups, rman, some other export import, or normal I mean cold backups, hot backups, different kind of one. End of the day, backup is nothing but original data which is there on the production. We need to take one copy into separate place. Okay, that is backups. So to monitor these health checks, we have certain kind of tools. OEM is there. Oracle Enterprise Monitor. It's one kind of Oracle given this tool. We need to install this, and then we need to configure our database server to OEM tool, and there we can able to see all these things. Like we can make backups completed or not, our database health up and running or not. Those kind of information. Or else, if you are, if I mean, this is a tool where we can invest. Licensing also will be there. It depends on the organizations also. Without this OEM tool, we can use shell script also. We can write normal small scripts to get the database health in your mails as a HTML output or direct outputs. those we can write in a shell script. So end of the day, our motto was that to monitor the database health on daily basis once you join your shift. That is one role. That too, it's important role. And second one is user management. User management is that like you have a database in your organization, like you have different teams. Database team will be there, some other no storage team, network team, operating system, and applications teams. So people, they are there, they require the database access to store their information. I mean, whatever they are doing in the organization, they require certain kind of access to the database. It's a read only or read write. So, okay, whatever they are doing the transactions, that transactions we required, they required the access credentials. Like you have a Gmail account, without user ID and password you cannot log into that, right? In that way, in each and every organization, the database, we used to maintain the user management to provide the access to the employees of that organization. Okay, that how we are going to create a users, how we are going to maintain that users. Okay, some if you have created that user, the user reported to you, I'm unable to log into the database. That is another issue. So we have to maintain uh, all these informations, and we have to support them. That all user related information maintenance, creation, everything, we call it as a user management. This is one separate topic. And the table spaces, whatever the data they are going to write, right, users are going to write or read, this information need to store on the database, right? In the database, information stored on the tables format. This table is a logical format, okay, this is not physical one. Okay, how we are going to manage these table spaces, and how we are going to create a table space, how we are going to create a tables, that is separate topic. So we need to check we have sufficient space or is there or not in the our databases. Okay, and is there any user login issues are there or not. On daily basis we used to get this. Apart from that, we used to get some ad hoc requests, like if somebody wants some other they want to create some database links, they want to access some other SQL database from this Oracle database, or another Oracle database they want to access, how we can provide that access for remote users, such kind of thing we call it as an ad hoc request. And also release activities. Release is nothing but every quarterly we used to plan to change the passwords. You know, right, the password is made like every 3 months. Even each and everyone is having bank accounts, they get some notifications, right? Your password is going to expire in 7 days or expire in 15 days. So it is good to change your passwords on every 90 days. Similar way, in our organizations, those who are database administrator, they can change the admin passwords of the database. Okay, those passwords we used to change on every quarterly. Quarter means every 3 months once. Okay, so that activity we call it as a release activity. So what are all the admin passwords admin user passwords we are going to change? We should have one complete plan, and then we will implement that on specific non-business hours. And also every quarterly, Oracle will release the CPU patches. CPU is nothing but the critical patch updates. It includes the security fixes, like we are using the mobiles, right? Android app or iOS. Every couple of days, a couple of months, we used to get upgrade your, I mean, update your OS. So and so version is there. In that way, Oracle also, they have developed the software, right? They will release the patches nothing but to fix a particular bug or to improve the release versions or new features, whatever the features they added. So they make it in a patch. It's a PSU patch or CPU patch, we call it as. Different patches will be there. So those also every quarterly they will release. Okay, January, April, and then July, October. These 4 months, definitely certain date will be there, 17th and 18th. This is the July, right? This month 18th, they released some of the patches. So these patches we can apply on our databases to avoid the security. Like if any vulnerability, somebody will hack our database servers, right? Such kind of issues also, such kind of fixes also they will include in these patches. Apart from this is CPU patches, we have normal patches. That is different topic which we can discuss in another session. So release activities is every quarterly we used to perform to change the passwords and apply in the quarterly released patches. The patching we already covered, right? We have two kind of homes. One is Oracle database home, and home is nothing but I'll tell you in the next few slides. I'll clarify on this. Oracle Home, we need to apply the patch, and Grid Home, it's a cluster home. Okay, we if you are using rack database, you will get a grid infrastructure and normal local homes also. If you are using standalone databases, you will have only local homes, Oracle homes. You will not having the grid infrastructure. I'll give you the clarification in next few slides. Cloning, as I said, the production data, right? Why we need to do the cloning is one a major activity. Okay, cloning is the copy of the production. Like if you have some issues on production, you want to fix that, we cannot do the fix on directly on production, right? For that, we need to clone this production as it is to another instance. That instances we call it as a non-production. We can do the regular developments, new functionalities we will create, customizations we can do. We cannot do all these things on production. That is not recommended, right? So for that, we require another instance similar to the production instance. We clone this one. How we can do this clone? That is a topic. Okay, how many ways we can do, and support the DR activities. DR is the disaster recovery. Unexpectedly, your server has been crashed. How you can restore your data? Okay, whatever we are talking about the data, it's a production database is the main one. Non-production is also important, but production is the live or the business data. Whatever the organization they are maintaining the data, it's the live data. For this life, if it is crashed, if it is some earthquakes has been happened or some floods happen, the data center is crashed. So this data how we can restore? For that, we have a data guard concept or real application cluster will be there, and different scenarios. But this DR activity related to data guard. How we are planning this DR activity means this production instance we will configure in two locations. One, if we could take in India, you can take one production instance data center will be Hyderabad and another will be the Mumbai. That Mumbai instance mean Mumbai database center, whatever the production replica, we call it as a data guard standby database. Standby means if anything goes wrong, the primary, the standby will place as a primary. That activity we call it as a DR activity. This we used to do on yearly. Somebody will do the quarterly, somebody will do every 6 months once. What they will do, they will shut down the production and they will redirect the connection to DR, like how it will work. Suppose the production is down, they need a production, right? Alternate standby, that standby become as a primary. So that they need to test on their requirements. Somebody will do 3 months once, 6 months once, or yearly once they used to perform. And the database fresh installations are, if you want to do the upgrade, this is one of the uh, activity as a DBA. This require like L3 L4 guys can do this, even L1 freshers can able to do that, but it is not uh, like recommended for them, like not recommended also. They will not force you to do this. As an L1 L2 guys, you can able to do how we can install the database, that is fine. How we can do the upgrade, high level steps, that is fine, but it's one of the roles and responsibilities of DBA. These are all high level. Okay, and other things will be there are as a DBA, some cloud exposure and all, that is another way, L3 L4 kind of scenarios. And okay, that concludes DBA roles and responsibilities. And then what are all the tools required to work as a DBA? Okay, for each and everyone, right? If you are a software engineer, you require laptop, Wi-Fi, and certain kind of environment. In that way, if you are a DBA, what kind of tools you require to do the your tasks, assign the tasks? We require a putty session. It's a putty software, okay, and WinSCP tool, and also SQL developer or Toad. Toad is a licensed one. SQL developer is a free tool, so that we can use, most of them can use this. If those are okay to bear this license and all, they can use the Toad option. Okay, these are the required tools. Other tools also there, but it is a mandatory. Everybody can able to uh, use these tools freely. I'll show you what is the putty session. Okay, for example, this is the putty session. If I want to connect to the server, like our Windows machine is there, right? If I want to connect to the Windows, I can go to my start menu and then I can able to connect it, right, normally. But in Linux machines and these IBM AX machines and other machines, we have certain kind of tool is required to connect to that servers. That is a putty session or super putty, different tools is there. uh, One example is putty session. Okay, this is my one of the instance, database instance. If I want to connect this database instance or database server, I need this putty session. I'll give my host name of the database server ID. I'll give my user ID and password. I'll connect it to this server. And WinSCP is required to copy the files. Suppose you have a files in your Windows machine right here. I can use right click and then I copy and then paste it, drag and drop, that will work. But in case of Linux servers, you require certain kind of tool, that is a WinSCP. I'll show you that how it will be. WinSCP. I haven't installed, I think so, no problem. Okay, I'll show you the logo, how it looks like in this way. Okay, WinSCP. We can download it freely in your laptops and then you can install. This will help us. Okay, Windows secure copy. This will install on a Windows machine. From this machine, you can copy files from your local server. Local server means this is my local server. Okay, whatever I am showing here desktop, right, it is my local server. From here to Linux server, wherever I connected to this putty session, right, let me connect it. Okay, if I want to copy one file, this music file is there in my putty session. If you want to copy this one or move this one from this server to in my local desktop, we cannot do directly a drag and drop or anything. We require certain kind of tool, that is a WinSCP. If you want to copy this session to this server, we require the tool, that is a WinSCP. Okay, Windows secure copy tool, that is one tool. Another is SQL developer. This is work like a putty session, but it's a GUI mode, graphical mode. In putty, if you are giving the select query, some other output will be in different formats. But SQL developer, we can able to like we can. It's a friendly, user friendly for DBAs or any developers. They can write SQL queries. We will get the output in GUI mode. It's a command prompt one, putty. It's a GUI mode, but both are working in a similar fashion. Toad also same, but it's a licensed one. Okay, apart from this, we have other tools also required as and when it is required. VNC server is required to connect the remote sessions and all. But these are the basic and important things. Okay, that concludes the prerequisites, roles and responsibilities and all. Now we can jump into the Oracle database server architecture. Okay, as part of Oracle database architecture, this is Oracle database architecture completely. Okay, yesterday we discussed something, but today I'm going to explain this. This portion we call it as a processes. User process and server process. User process is nothing but from where you are trying to connect. Okay, this completely database and database instance. Okay, database server. This portion, no, this is example, it's a server. This green one is showing completely this SGA portion, and this orange portion, light orange and white color, it's representing this one, physical files. Physical files means data files, control files, redo log files, and other parameter files. Okay, whatever the image I am showing here, this complete image is two parts here. It's a server is holding hardware plus software. Okay, whatever the software or hardware is there in the server, we require the software, DBMS software. Hardware requires whatever the software you want to run, you require certain kind of hardware. So I'll explain. We can divide our architecture part into three parts. One is user and server process. Process is one component, and we divide this SGA part or instance part. This we call it as a logical memory or the memory portion of the database server. And whatever here representing the orange portion, right, this one we call it as a storage, physical storage or the database. This portion we call it as a memory or instance. This portion we call it as a database or physical storage, and this one we call it as a processes. Okay, Oracle database server is divided into three components. For understanding purpose, I'm telling you. First component is Oracle database the softwares and binaries executables and all, right? That I'll show you. Physical data files, whatever it is showing here, right? These are the physical data files. Here we have a data file, control file, online redo files, parameter files, and other files. These portion we call it as a database. Physical data files, nothing but the database. Okay, and the database instance or memory, this portion, one of the component we call it as SGA plus background processes. We called complete these components as instance. Okay, guys, I think don't worry about it. Initially, when I learned this one, I took almost 5 to 7 days to understand this architecture, but you guys will grab it less than that. Okay, and this is portion we call it as a user processes and server. This is a processor component. I'll explain one by one. Okay, let me show you the physically. This is structure diagram wise I shown, right? I'll show you directly the architecture portion, how it will looks in the server. Whatever I shown here, right? These are the data files, control files, and parameter other files. This is the physical storage of the Oracle database architecture. This is logical storage of your Oracle database architecture. This logical storage we cannot able to see when the database is up down. Okay, we can see when the database is up and running only, but this physically means we can able to see it when the database is up or down. I'll show you what is up and down, how we can identify whether the database is up or down. Okay, this is different. Okay, this user process is nothing but the laptop, this laptop or mobile from where I'm trying to connect. That is the user process. Server process is once I connected, right? I connected this putty session. I want to connect to this server, right? So first, this putty session and this my laptop is called as a client user process. And after I enter my host name, I'll show you here. Till now, it's a user session only or user process. This is the laptop or computer from where I am trying to connect this database. So I have entered the database IP, like this ID. For each and every database, there should be one ID to uniquely identify that. For that, I'm trying to connect. Okay, I just enter the host name, whether it is correct or not. If I have a permission to access the URL or not, that validation part is done by the server process. Okay, first I have entered the URL of or IP address of the server. That is a client user process only. But if it is an invalid IP, suppose I am trying to access, one second, suppose I am trying to access another IP which is not exist, 192.168.56.101. I'm trying to access, okay, different IP. What it is saying, it is not giving me any error, login as something like that, right? It is not existed. What it means, it is not reached to your server process itself. In the client itself, from the client to server, sorry, it reached to the server process. In the server process, we don't have any information related to this IP. If the server process is having this IP address information, definitely it will allow us to proceed further. So here it is saying network connection timeout. It is not existed in your server. That is where it is throwing an error. Once I have given the user ID and the password to connect to the server, this will validate the user ID and password to take it. Whatever the credentials are stored in the OS level, those credentials it will take it, the server process will take, and the server process will validate that credentials. Means server process will give the authentication, like whether the user is valid or not, whether the password entered is correct or not. So those kind of things will taken care by the server process. Simply server process will serve the request, whatever the request has made from the user process. That's it, nothing much. Okay, this is the processes architecture. It's a simple architecture, one of the component, user process and server process. Hope you all got that one. And then we can jump into our physical storage. This physical storage we call it as a database. See here, database is a physical files. I'll show you in the architecture. Let me connect it to Oracle Home. PWD, it's my Oracle Home, but my storage will be there on the base Vora data. One second, guys, I'll show you. See here, control files, online redo log files, data files. Where these files are stored? On my database, physical storage. My database is not up and running as of now. I'll show you the command how we need to check. But these files we are able to see, right? That's where I mentioned these are all the physical files. These physical files we call it as a database or physical storage. Original data where it is resides, your physical storage only. This is original data. Okay, this is software or memory. You mean to say this will help to access this data to these users, whoever trying to access the data, whoever store, if they want to store their data to database, that this memory portion will help them. I'll show you some other database related information as and when it is required. So hope you guys are got this one. Let me explain one by one, like what is data files, what is control files, what is online redo log files. I think user process and the server process I have explained, and then yeah, I'll show you this physical database files. As I said, physical database files are data files, control files, online redo log files, and some other files. But these three CRD, we can name it as CRD: control, redo log. D means data files. Important. Control files. So see here in the name itself, it is their control to control entire the database information. It is a unique file where it stores all the database related information, like where your data files stored, where your redo log files are stored, that related information stored by this control file. And also what is your database name, that also will reside under your control file. Okay, each and every transaction which is stored in this database, okay, that transaction references will stored in this control file and also data files. I'll tell you that. So control files is the unique file. It stores the crucial information of your database. Simple definition. So it's a, if you lost the control file, okay, if you lost the control file, you cannot able to access your database. Why? Because no, when you are trying to access your database, first it will read the control file and then only it will open the database to access. If you lost the control file, means you cannot access your database. For that purpose only, we are maintaining multiple control files, that is called multiplexing of your control files. Like we are maintaining three control files, the same information which is stored in a different locations. Suppose one control file is lost, another two files also there, because it's a crucial, right? Without control file we cannot able to access our database. That is one thing. What are all the information this control file will store? DB name, what is your database name, where is the data file stored, where is your redo log file stored, okay, and what are all the table spaces you have, and where your backup has been. Daily we are taking the backups in the database, where your backup is stored, that information is maintained by this control file. That is what we mentioned, control file is the crucial information it will contains. Okay, to protect your database we will maintain the multiple control files, but generally we used to have one control file in a database. And the next one is very important, data files. Okay, data file is nothing but the original data of your organization, of your company. Whatever you are going to write, all the committed transactions, committed means saved information, is stored in your data files. These data files will have a number of data files. Size will start from, like you can start with 500 MB, you can go with 500 GB, 500 terabytes. Number of files will be there. Okay, under data files means number of files you have. Okay, these data files will store under table spaces. We will come to the next class. What is the data file meaning? Data file is having original data of your user data or original data of the organization plus the metadata. Metadata means the data when you are installing your database software. There are some binaries and software information will be there, right? That we call it as a metadata. And in that software, if you want to create a user, there could be some binaries is required, libraries is required. Okay, that information we can say as a base tables or base object information. Those base information stored in your data dictionaries. So metadata and data dictionary information is nothing but the your Oracle software information plus whatever data you are going to write after you install your database. That data also stored in data files. And third one is online redo logs. Okay, read log is nothing but the current transactions. Suppose I have logged in now, I'm trying to do some write operation, like I'm writing something into the database. Okay, that information initially it will reach to online redo log groups. Okay, here we can maintain at least one group with two members. One group with two members. Two members means I'll give you that example where it is. Let me show you. Suppose you want to store whatever the archives you are going to write. Archives means current transactions. Whatever you are going to write, those will store in your archive read log. It's a one member. It is M1, member 1, member 2. These two members we call it as read log group. One group. Okay, one group. One group required two members. Okay, at least. If whatever the transactions are came into your database, those will write first member current transactions. Suppose 10 users are writing something, some updations, some deletions happening. Okay, this member is having 10 MB size. Okay, suppose it is filled up, 10 MB is filled up, and the next member is trying to write the data. Okay, whatever the data is writing, that should write in somewhere, that is in some other files, online redo log files. Online redo log files. These redo log members are there in your redo log members. Whatever the data is storing, that we call it as online redo logs. Online redo logs. If member is filled, only single member is there, but it is Oracle recommended to have two members at a time. Okay, but you can maintain two or three groups. Two or three groups. This is member 3, member 4. I mean, what I'm trying to explain here is online redo log groups or online redo logs is the current. It holds the current transactions. Each group is having two members, but initially you will get one group with two members. But if you want to extend the groups, you can go with the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. Okay, wherever the member is filled, it will switch to write the next transactions to this member. Once this member is completed, again it will switch to this member. If you are having another group, right, once this member is filled up, it will switch, it will write it to another group. Why it is required? No, you to hold. If it is filled up, the database will be hang up. So if you are having two members, one member information is writing here, it will wait for 2 or 3 seconds. Certain kind of rules is there. I'll explain those things in a couple of slides. So online redo logs are the logs which are storing the current transactions. Each online redo log is having two members. Okay, you can maintain n number of groups according to your organization transactions. So here they mentioned two groups, one to two members in that way. Group 1, group 2, I think n number of groups they can maintain, but one group, two members is required. Whatever the information it will store, those informations we can use for recovery purpose. If database is crashed at certain time, those online current transactions we can apply, and then we can restore the database, and then we can make it up the database. Another parameter files, password files, archive log files, and backup files, alert log. These two I'll tell you. We have another. These three are the important one and main physical files in your database. These physical files we call it as a database. The name itself database. We call it as a database. Original data it contains. Okay. Archive log files are the optional files where this online redo log files is required a backup. If suppose this online review group or member is when crashed or something happened, for that also we can maintain another backup. Okay, for this online redo logs we'll write another place. That place we call it as a archive redo logs. That is optional. If you want to enable it, you can enable it, but your database performance will be degraded. But it is recommended to use to high availability and data protection. Password file is one more parameter file where you can use this password file to connect or allow the remote connections. Suppose I have this database. If somebody is having another database with a different name, they want to access my database remotely. Okay, for that we need to give, like some SQL developer, they are trying to connect this database remotely, not in the local. For them, we need to provide this password file that will help them to grant the sysadmin, sysam, sysoper or admin privileges. So password file help to connect remotely and perform the admin tasks. Okay, mostly we can use on clone when we are doing the clones and all. When we are doing some other operations, password file we can use that. And parameter file is the important one. It's a two types of normal parameter and p file and sp file. Sp file is a server parameter file where we can use in a rack environment and grid infrastructure. But a standalone database we can use the parameter file. If this parameter file is having instructions, what is your database name, what is your database where your data files is located, control files located, online redo logs, what is your SID instance name, and what is the memories, undo table spaces, each and every information we can write in a parameter file. I'll show you this parameter file now. Okay, I talked about the parameter file, right? That will reside under your Oracle home DBS location. See here, I said parameter files are two types. One is SP file. We cannot read this. It's like this will be in a binary format. If you want to read, you can read to create a P file from SP file and then you can read it. Okay, I have created the P file with init.vara. It's a P file, default file. I have created with this sample name. If you want to read, we can use Linux command cat. I can read it. I'll show you what are all the information in your parameter file. See here, this is audit logs. Like I'll tell you in a few seconds. I mean, next few seconds I'll cover this audit logs. Means compatibility is 19C. Where is your control file stored? I can go to this location. I can read my control file. Okay, what is your database name? Okay, what is the block size? And where is your recovery file location, diagnostics location, how many process, how many cursors we can give. Process means any how many sessions we can able to, on sessions also we can give it how many sessions we can able to. Session means I open this putty session, right? This is one session. If I want to open another session, this is one session. I can say save user, I can log in, this is one more session. This also we can give the limit in your parameter file, how many sessions you can able to open. Okay, and what is your undo table space name, and we can manage the undo table space and other so many parameters will be there. Those will maintain or make your database accessibility using this parameter file. Okay, when you start your database, it will read your parameter file first. According to that, if it is not read this parameter file, right, it mean the startup command doesn't know where your control file. First it will read your control file, and inside of this control file it will read rest of the information, log file location, db file, even here we mentioned database name, everything it will read from the control file. That is where the parameter file is very important. Okay, that is one thing. So other are optionals. Archive files are optional, and backup files, that is, yeah, as I said, we will cover under backup and recovery session. Alert log and trace files are important. As and when if any issues happen in our database, we can able to see this alert log. We have to monitor this alert log on every day. There we can able to see it. If any errors happen in your database, if any changes happen in your database, this will monitor. This will log those informations. Trace file is if you have any issues in your database, if you want to specific user session you want to monitor and all those kind of sessions, it will we can enable the trace. Those trace files will store in your trace location. Okay, this conclude your physical storage. And I'll quickly explain your next architecture one. It's a memory part. Okay, as I said, let me show you one more time. Whatever we finished, I'll show you. We have finished this part. Okay, and this part also I have explained in the initial stage. And then I'm going to show you this part, memory part or instance. Okay, what is database instance? Okay, instance is nothing but the combination of your SGA plus these background processes. Complete these information we call it as an instance. Okay, each database is having one instance, or if you want to maintain multiple instances also you can maintain. This is a memory only. Okay, to access your database is nothing but these files, data files, control files, online redo log files. You require a memory. That memory plus background processes you required, those we call it as an instance. In your standalone database, one instance for one database. If it is a high availability or rack databases, one database, multiple instances. I'll show you that for a quick understanding purpose. Here it is. See, this is one instance, one database. One server we can install n number of databases according to your server configuration or memory. Okay, so one instance, one database, another instance to database two. But in your cluster or rack database, this is high availability. If something happened into your instance, if it is instance is down, database cannot, we cannot access this database. For that only, this is a stand alone. Alone means single database, single instance. But single database, multiple instance means to access this database, we are having three options: option one, option two, option three. If this option is not available, we can access these two options. We can use these two options and we can access. It is a this if you want to configure this kind of environment, you require a Oracle grid infrastructure. Okay, that is where I mentioned in the patching session. We can apply single home normal patching or grid infrastructure patching. That is separate topic we'll discuss. So three instance is there, one database they are accessing. This is called high availability and rack architecture. Same way, single database, single instance is nothing but memory, SGA plus background processes. What is SGA? SGA is the abbreviation itself, system global area. It will having all the memory parameters which can help the users to access the database. Okay, SGA stands for system global area. It will help to start your instance. Instance is the memory part, and also background process will come into the picture. I'll show you that in physically. I'll show you in the lab. Let me explain the information. In SGA, we are having certain kind of components. In SGA, we are having database buffer cache and shared pool, read log buffer, large pool, Java pool, stream pool. Okay, out of all this, we have another, so many components will be there, but main important components inside your SGA. Okay, don't confuse. SGA is nothing but your RAM. You are using mobile, you are having 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, right? In your Oracle databases, we are maintaining SGA 17 GB, 16 GB, 10 GB, 20 GB, 100 GB SGA. How much SGA you are using, that much performance the user can able to access this database. This database is nothing but your the storage, like 64 GB, 120 GB of your mobile data will be there, right? I can say in laptop 500 GB my storage. It's a database. This is a RAM. SGA is a memory. It's like RAM. I can say RAM, but in our DBA technical word, we can say SGA. How the SGA will work means using these components. Inside of these components, these are working. All together, we call it as SGA. Okay. Out of these all components, only three are we can remember. Those are important. Database buffer cache is important. Shared pool is very important, and read log buffers. As I said, current transactions, right? As and when the user is writing something, those will reach to this read log buffer. From there, it will write to read logs. And whatever the information is committed, those information will goes to database buffer cache, and used blocks will be there. These blocks, used dirty blocks and pinned blocks will be there. From that blocks, committed transactions will taken by this DB writer, and it will write to your data files. See, I'll explain that also. So database buffer cache will help to store the temporarily store the database information, the information, original data or information. Okay, and redo-log buffer will store the current transactions. Whatever the transactions we are writing, that will goes to redo-log buffer. Buffer means temporary storage. Okay, and then shared pool. This will provide the another three components which are important. I'll give you the live examples also. Inside of the shared pool, we have a library cache and also dictionary cache. Other components also they're important. I'm trying to cover in this topic. Library cache is important. Library cache will hold your information whichever user has been requested. Suppose I requested one employee salary. Suppose the Vasu salary is 1 lakh. He's trying to access that information. That first time he's trying to access, select star from Vasu where salary equal to that command I have initiated. That salary will store first, that will come, where that store, salary will be there, database, right? From database, data files. From the data files to this database buffer, that information will store. From here, temporarily that information will store. From here to the server process, from here to here, I think library cache, from database buffer cache to library cache, from library cache to server process. As I said here, I'll show you one more time the server process. I'll explain here this part. See, I requested one employee salary, right? The salary will fetch first time. The salary will fetch from here to database buffer cache, from database buffer cache to library cache, which is there under your shared pool. From library cache to server process. Server process will give the output to user. Suppose another user came and he also asked the same person salary, that output. At that time, that server process will read that information and it will goes to here, library cache, it will check whether the information is there or not. If it is there, it will give from this library cache to server and user process. See, that will not go to database buffer cache or data files. That is where this library cache will hold. And also this library cache is having explain plans like and other execution plans. One query came into this library cache, it will give the best plan to get the output from the data files. Those plans will give written or Oracle itself, it will pick that those are library cache. Okay, that is one thing. Another one is data dictionary. I'll show you here. The same part is here. Data dictionary is another important parameter. This is holding all the base objects information. I can say if employee table is there, if I want to create a user into the employee table, whether the table is there, that table also, the table information will store in your dictionary table. By default, Oracle is having n number of tables. Those base tables will stored here, and whatever the user will create, those table information also will stored by the data dictionary cache. If the employee, if user is trying to ask, select star from employee. So employee is the table. The table is there or not. First, that definition itself, it will check in the data dictionary cache. It will, the query comes from here to shared pool. Inside of the shared pool library cache, library cache will ask employee table is there or not in your database. That base information will stored by the data dictionary. It will say yes, it is there. Then it will go to execute the execution plans and other things, and then it will reach to buffer cache and then database files, and it will fetch it. So data dictionary will hold the base table information. And result cache, it's for also improve the performance of the queries. I'll explain this one in the later sessions. So it's completely memory structure of SGA. What is SGA? SGA is a abbreviation for System Global Area. It will help to the users to connect to the database. And these are all the 5 mandatory background processes as part of instance. DB writer, system monitor, pmon, checkpointer, and also log writer. Okay, these 5 are the mandatory background processes. I'll show you here. DB writer, checkpointer, log writer, smon and pmon. Other background processes also there: recovery, archiver, or some other M1, MM1, others are optional. So we have to focus on SMON, PMON, DB writer, checkpoint, and log writer. First, I'll explain the system monitor. SMON means system monitor. Whatever the information, whatever, like the system monitor will monitor the system, complete this memory related things. If any committed transactions are there, when that mean system monitor will help us as and when any system crashes, suddenly your instance is crashed, this instance is crashed, at that time system monitor will invoke and it will try to look for committed transactions and uncommitted transactions. If any committed transactions found in the memory, it will roll forward and store, it will ask DB writer that invoke the DB writers, and committed transactions will return to the data files. And if the system monitor will identify the uncommitted transactions, that uncommitted transactions will be rolled backward means those will not store in one database, those we have to lose. In that situation, SMON will invoke and this roll forward, roll backward. Roll forward means committed transactions saved, roll backward means uncommitted transactions, those we will not get it, we will lose the data. That will done by the SMON. This is important background process. If it is not up and running, you cannot able to start your database. And every day, every background process is important. If any one of that is not there, you cannot able to access your database. Okay, these are all the background process where it helps to connect the users to database. And PMON, it's a process monitor. P means process and MOM means monitor. It will, as and when any user has been, this user sessions has been established the connection with your database, suddenly the user has been logged out without, not the logged out, without log out from the session, and he has been make that ideal, and all session will be ideal sometime. If you are not using your laptop will be ideal, right? At that time, that ideal sessions are user sessions which are going to ideal or going to mute sometime, those process will be killed by this Primon process, and it will assign that memory. Each and every background process is having user session, everything is having requires some memory. That memory will released to access another user to come and access your instance. Pman will act user processes, it will monitor the user sessions. If any session is ideal or inactive, sometime it will kill that inactive sessions and all, it will provide the users to access the instance. And DB writer, DB writer means database writer. Whatever the information, committed transactions which are finding from the redo log buffer and database buffer cache, those committed transactions will return in the data files. If somebody want information from the data files, that will fetch this information from the data files to, it will put in the database buffer cache. Who will do that task? Put the database, I mean data information in the data files and get the information from the data files, DB writer. That is the DB writer task, nothing much. And log writer, log writer means it will write the logs from the redo log buffer. Whatever the transactions came into this redo log buffer, if the buffer is filled 1/3 or every 3 seconds, if any transactions happen in the redo log buffer, that will write to this online redo log files. Who will write? Log writer background process will write. And what is the use of this checkpointer? If any committed transactions happen, okay, in the database, the committed transactions from here to here, it will move, right? Completely. Checkpointer will invoke some committed transactions is there in the database, this database buffer cache, and that information will invoke, the checkpointer will invoke the DB writer, write that information to your data files. And also this checkpointer will help to update the control files headers. What each and every transaction we have SCN number, that SCN number will update it in your data files headers and control file headers. Headers means the initial portion of your data files. Checkpointer will help to write that information, committed transaction information. It will invoke the DB writer to write this information. Checkpointer will not write anything, it will just invoking the DB writer to write those information. Hey DB writer, I have some committed transactions, write this information in your data files and control files. That invoker is the checkpointer. So those are all the important background processes. So that concludes your database architecture. Okay, then let me take questionnaires.